Welcome everyone, this is your own channel Learner Saga. In this video we will discuss paragraph number 6 to 10 of the prose piece Packing by Jerome K. Jerome. But before we start, I like to request you to press the like button and subscribe the channel if you are new, and also to share and comment the video. So without wasting any time, let's begin. In the previous video we have discussed paragraph number 1 to 5, where we have seen that the three friends, our narrator and the two other, George and Harris, they started packing. Although the narrator preferred doing the job wholly by himself, and the two other friends accepted into their suggestion with a readiness, and the author found some uncanny about that. So when the narrator started packing, he made 2 or 3 episodes, such as the toothbrush episode, and again he shared with us a story of one of his friends with whom he lived, and how he enjoyed the scene while our narrator walked like an otter. So from this video we will start from paragraph number 6. Of course I had to turn every mortal thing out now, and of course I could not find it. So here is the story about, if we go back to paragraph number 5, there we can see that the narrator is talking about his toothbrush. The narrator often, while he goes out for any outing or any journey, he always forgets to pack his toothbrush. So he is talking about this. Of course I had to turn every mortal thing out now, and of course I could not find it. I rummaged the things up into much the same state. Rummaged means, here the meaning is given, searched. I searched the things up into much the same state that they must have been before the world was created. So the narrator here means to say that the narrator, in order to find out the toothbrush, makes such a nuisance, makes such a mess, that it possibly reminds someone about the particular time when world was not created. That means the cosmos. And when chaos reigned, yes, when chaos reigned means there was no system, no discipline, world was not created. Of course I found George's and Harris's 18 times over, but I couldn't find my own. And when I searched in such a way, I found my friends George's and Harris's toothbrushes 18 times and more than that. So this is hyperbolic exaggeration, or hyperbolic statement, you may say, exaggeration. So 18 times and over means it is not actually 18 times literally. The narrator suggests that he found their toothbrushes many a times, but he couldn't find his own. I put the things back one by one and held everything up and shook it. Okay, so the narrator tried every means. He held everything up and shook it, so that if anything is inside, it may get down. Then I found it inside a boot, and as it was inside a boot. I repacked once more. Okay, so again he had to repack it. Initially we have seen the narrator had already repacked. He opened, and now again he repacked. When I had finished, George asked if the soap was in. See, now the blunder is again going on. Initially the bag was packed, and one of his friends asked for, in the previous page, okay, just wait, yes, here you can see, aren't you going to put the boots in, said Harris. So this is Harris's statement. This was Harris's statement. Harris asked the narrator in our previous video that whether he had packed his boots. Now again you can see here George asked if the soap was in. Okay, so when the narrator didn't pack the whole bag, Nobody replied. Nobody said a thing that whether this was packed or not. But when the narrator packed, then at first Harris and now George is asking about. Now George is asking whether the soap is inside. Okay. So I said I didn't care a hang whether the soap was in or whether it wasn't. So the narrator is very irritated, very angry, and he said that he didn't care a hang whether the soap was in or whether it wasn't not. And I slammed the bag shut and strapped it. The narrator closed the bag, making a loud noise that is slammed, and strapped it. And it covered with belts and zip, etc. And found that I had packed my spectacles in it. So spectacle is a very necessary thing. The narrator has packed that thing. I had to reopen it. So again reopen. It got shut up finally at 10:05 p.m. at night after 10. And then there remained the hampers to do. So not only the bags, the narrator and the two friends, they were to pack their hampers also. Hampers means basket like things. Harris said that we should be, yes, here you can see here hampers, large baskets for carrying food. Okay. Harris said that we should be wanting to start in less than 12 hours time and thought that he and George had better to do the rest. And I agreed and sat down. And they had a go. Okay, so now what happened? Harris suggested that they have only 12 hours time. That means in the next day, on the next day, they would start a journey. And minding this, they thought that he and George had better do the rest. That means George and Harris should do the rest of the packing. And I agreed. That means our narrator now agreed. He sat down and they had a go. They had a go means George and Harris had a go. Had a go is an expression. It means they started. They started doing packing. They began in a light-hearted spirit, very casually, very normally, evidently intending to show me how to do it. And it was quite evident in their endeavor that they intended, that they wanted to show the narrator how to do packing. I made no comment. The narrator didn't make any comment. I only waited. With the expectation of George and Harris, Harris is the worst packer in the world. Okay, so according to George, Harris is the worst packer. And I looked at the piles of plates and cups and kettles and bottles and jars and pies and stoves and cakes and tomatoes, etc. So the list is long, and felt that the thing would soon become exciting because the narrator is anticipating that something funny is going to happen. It did, and it was so. They started with breaking a cup. The first thing that they did while packing was to break a cup. That was the first thing they did. They did that just to show you what they could do and to get you interested. That means it's like a film. You are sitting in the theater enjoying the movie, and the very opening scene is a very interesting one that makes you interested that what will happen later in the film. Like this, they started breaking with a cup, and the narrator was quite excited that he would probably see some exciting thing later on. Then Harris packed the strawberry jam on top of a tomato and squashed it. So it is very ridiculous. You can understand here. Harris, he packed the strawberry jam on top of a tomato. Definitely it will be squeezed. And they had to pick out the tomato with a teaspoon. So in paragraph number 8 we saw that George and Harris, they started packing by breaking a cup. After that they did some funny thing. For example, as Harris packed the strawberry jam on top of the tomato, thereby squashing it. Now paragraph number 9. And then it was George's turn, and he trod on the butter. Okay, George trod on the butter. Trod means here the meaning is given. Trod, stepped on. I didn't say anything. The narrator just kept mum. He remained silent. He didn't say anything. But I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. Okay, you can see in the picture the narrator just came towards them, as it is you can see here now. But I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. The narrator watched them closely. You can see there is a dog. We will study about this dog also. It will happen later. Okay. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. What irritated them? That the narrator is watching them. The narrator is watching them doing while they are doing. It irritated them. I felt that, and it was felt by the narrator. Okay, the narrator said that it was my feelings that they were getting irritated as I was sitting just beside them. It made them nervous and excited, and they stepped on things and put things behind them and then couldn't find them when they wanted them. As it was, and as the narrator said, that they became nervous and excited. Due to their nervousness and excitement, they stepped on the things or they put things behind them, and that's why they couldn't find those things when they were in search of those things. And they packed the pies at the bottom. Pies is very soft. Pies, so they should have been packed at the very top, but instead they packed the pies at the bottom and put heavy things on top and smashed the pies in. So very inexperienced on part of George and Harris, thereby arousing laughter for us. But the narrator was enjoying the scene while sitting just beside them. They upset the salt over everything. And as for the butter, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life than they did. So now the butter episode is here. What happened? They upset salt over everything. Here upset doesn't means to become sorry. Okay, here upset means they just poured. P-O-U-R-E-D. They poured salt over everything. And as for the butter, now what is the butter episode? The narrator said, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life than they did. That means the butter is a very low cost, according to the narrator. Narrator said it worth only 1 or 2 pence. Pence is like pennies. Okay, worth of butter in my whole life. The narrator has not experienced that kind of scene with the very trivial thing like butter. After George had got it off his slipper, they tried to put it in the kettle. So what happened in the previous paragraph is we have noticed that they packed the pies at the bottom and put heavy things on top and smashed the pies in. Similarly, here in this paragraph, what did they do? George got it off his slipper and they tried to put it in the kettle, because what happened? Actually, in paragraph number 9, you can see here that George trod on the butter. So it was stuck to his feet. You can see here, it was stuck to his feet. Now here in paragraph number 10, as it is said that George had to got it off his slipper, and they after getting that off, they tried to put that butter in the kettle. It wouldn't go in, and what was in wouldn't come out. So very funny. They did scrap it out at last. Scrap means they tried to scrap or drag, you may say. Scrap means drag. They had to drag it out at last and put it down on a chair, and Harry sat on it. So after dragging that butter, they put it down on a chair. The remaining portion of the butter, they just put it down on a chair. And unknowingly, absent-mindedly, you may say, Harry sat on it. And it stuck to him. And they went looking for it all over the room. Okay, so it was a very funny situation. The narrator said that the butter episode is the funniest thing. Why? Because initially George just stuck on the butter, then he had to got it off his slipper, and they two tried to put that butter in the kettle. After their endeavor, they put the remaining portion of the butter on a chair, and Harry sat on it, and it stuck to him. After it is stuck to him, to the back of Harry's, they went looking for the remaining portion of the butter all over the room. So the thing is not done here. It will continue, but we will discuss that in our next portion of the video. So till then, goodbye.